Brian White is here, and Brian White, over the years, the 2 years, 2.5 years that I've been doing this channel, Brian has come on and we've done something where we go around the world. But I was
Mhm.
bored this morning. I thought, nah, I don't want to go around the world and take a look at all the factories and see what's happening at the factories. I thought we'd do it different this time, Brian. Let's do it product category by product category.
I like
And
it.
because some people that do the channel maybe don't have all day, maybe they can't spend the entire 20 or 22 minutes that we'll probably spend on this video. We should go with the number one potential product in terms of uh, profits in the future. We should start there and then we'll work our way down.
hmm
But even
Baby Grok plushies. Yeah, that's going to be the number one profit center.
That's right, absolutely. So let's start with there was a lot of news and information over the weekend, or at least a visible display of Optimus, but maybe there was other news that you saw or heard about. What are you hearing, thinking about Optimus right now that maybe everybody else is not aware of, or maybe they are?
It's ready to deploy. Let's be honest, it's ready to deploy. There's some holdups with some planetary gears that may be slowing it down. But if that's your obstacle, that's an easy one to solve. Well, but it can't do XYZ. It can't do parkour. It can't do underwater welding. Great. Doesn't mean it won't be able to tomorrow. Now, your hardware might not be able to update for that, but those are applications that are very unique and you don't need them. It has well surpassed the point of minimum viable product. It is ready to go. Uh, Not for everyone, not for everything, but I had an idea maybe 2 years ago that is very much like what we're seeing at the diner. The diner's already got Optimus on the clock. It's handing out popcorn to kids. That's very easy. That's an easy job, but it is a job. What I'd said years ago is get water for little cups of water for people at showrooms. People will come into the showrooms to see it. And while they're there, I mean, what do you pay for customer acquisition to get people into your showroom? We saw it with Cybertruck. A lot of people said, my wife will never, never let us get a Cybertruck, but we're going to go in and look at it. And they also looked at the Model Y and they bought a Model Y. That's the whole point of a Halo product. So can Optimus work in your factory today? Yes. I mean, depends what you need done, but yes, it can. It's ready to go. We just need to build them and sell them. So that's the big takeaway. And well, I don't even know what the margin's going to be. Don't worry, people smarter than you and I are on that job, and they will not sell them at a loss. That's not the plan. The only lingering questions from conversations with Dr. Scott Walter is that we don't yet know the longevity of all the pieces, and that remains to be seen. So it's very possible that for now they're not for sale. You can rent them. And that's what I'd like to see is a rental model so that there's no warranty. You don't need a warranty. It's not yours. You know, what's the warranty on your rental car? If it breaks, they bring you a different rental car. That's what I want to see for Optimus. So I don't have to worry about the actuators wearing out. Just, you know, the pinky went out. I didn't even know. A different one shows up and says, Morning, Bob. It says, Morning, Bob. And then you got a different Bob.
Right.
And away you go.
Yeah, and $10,000 a month is the number I'm putting on it, and ten
Ooh,
thousand
wow.
dollars a month,
Sure.
10,000 a month might seem high, but it would not be high if the bot can do 3 shifts. Now you're down to $3,000 a month, and when you take out bathroom breaks and food breaks and people not showing up and having to
Well,
hire
10,000 a
fire.
month is high, but this is day one.
Okay.
This is day one. Worked selling broadcast electronics in the 90s when flat screens first came out. The Fujitsu 42-inch, we sold those for $15,000. It was 6 inches thick. It weighed a lot, like 60, 70 pounds. It was a heavy beast. And it was only 42 inches. It was beautiful to us. And it looked fine. I don't even know if it was in high def. I think it was still in standard def. It might have had 500 lines, 600 lines of resolution, but it was beautiful at the time. And it doesn't cost 15,000 to make it. No, it doesn't. But we got all this R&D to recoup. So that's the price. And well, I'll never buy one. Well, right, not at 15,000. This isn't about you. This is about the people who can pay 15,000. And we sold those things all day. And in our region, there were only two companies that had the opportunity to sell them. We got all the commercial sales, and the other company got all the residential sales, all the consumer sales. So and we generally didn't sell them for 15,000. Our cost was half that. So that was good markup. So we could
Good
still
market.
sell them for 10, 12,000 and give the customer a heck of a deal because we weren't selling one at a time. We were selling 20. We were selling them to airports because there are applications where price is less of a consideration. If you need, I mean, if there are a lot of jobs that are too dangerous or uh, too hard to get employees out to. Think of maybe these Optimus bots will be working out at a mine, a remote mine, plugging in equipment. It's not a hard job. What's hard is getting the people out there. And it's not just that you have to pay a fortune to get those workers out there. You have to pay for them to live somewhere
Yeah.
because there is nowhere for them to live. And so, yeah, you would be not just replacing 3 humans with one Optimus, but you'd also be eliminating the housing, the food, the all of the other and and then you don't have to worry if they're going to show up a drunk on Monday.
Right, exactly. Okay, so that's Optimus. Let's take a look at the one that's everybody's got everybody's attention right now. So the second largest future potential is Robotaxi, and that's going to be the number one question, I'm sure, on Wednesday. We had a lot of activity again with regard to Robotaxi over the last few days. Fill us in what you're seeing in Austin, what you think is important at this time.
What a failure this robotaxi is, Randy. You and I talked about this in between shows, the Business Insider article that you and I both looked at and said, huh, this appears pretty fair. And then, well, there were interventions, like kind of a bunch, like a weird number of interventions. Well, good news. I'm sure he caught it on camera. He didn't. You hit your first intervention, you didn't record the next two. My friend, it'd be one thing if you were representing a bastion of integrity, but you're drinking the bin cider. So this is not necessarily credible. And it's great that all these media outlets tried and tried and tried to get into a robo-taxi, but everybody kept telling them to, take a long walk off a short pier. They finally found a dentist who just happened to have gotten a local invite. And the dentist is like, oh, you want to ride? Yeah, sure, let's do it. Why not? I don't care. I don't understand what's going on. But these are the kind of people that eat their Snickers upside down just because they like the veiny texture on their tongue. I don't know what to make of it. When we see big failures in autonomy from Waymo, it gets a free pass. The video I saw yesterday was hilarious. Uh, Waymo takes a turn around a corner, sees a tow truck ready to load a car up, and is like, "Oh, is that for me? I'll start driving up the ramp." And the policeman comes over. He's like, he's ready to have a conversation. Oh, there's no one in the car. Oh, for crying out loud. Whose rights do I violate now? Okay, well, it's just going to leave. Okay, fine. Where are those safety advocates? Where are the people who see Waymo driving the wrong way down a one-way street and say, yeah, but Tesla, but come on. So how's the rollout going? To me, it looks good. It looks fine. What we don't know, there are a lot of questions on, say, technologies that they want Tesla to answer in the earnings call on Wednesday. But the only one that matters to me is how is the ratio of HQ overseers to vehicles going? Is it trimming down as quickly as you'd hoped while maintaining safety? I'm absolutely confident Tesla will be maintaining safety. And then, of course, then it's just a matter of the ratio. Because if you can handle twice as many cars, we don't need to add any more people. We can just double the number of cars. I'm still dealing with people on social media who say, well, Robotaxi will never make money because look, if you look at the entire taxi industry, that's not enough money to really matter. And I say, you're looking at it wrong. First of all, there is money in taxis. It's just that the lion's share of it goes to drivers. We eliminated those. Another big chunk goes to the manufacturers of the vehicles. We are the manufacturers of vehicles. What's left after that? If you were an analyst and you looked at Uber in the early days and said, you know what, we should bump up the valuation because they're probably going to start delivering food. People would have said, what are you talking? No one sends food in a taxi. That's not a thing. 1/3 of Uber's revenue comes from Uber Eats. That's something you have to consider. It's like, well, okay, but I considered food. Right, but you didn't consider what comes after food. There's the next thing. And as prices come down, like we're talking about with those flat panel displays, as the price comes down, the market gets bigger and bigger to the point where now I'll see people who will buy a TV they don't even need just so they can have one outside in the garden. They're that cheap.
Yeah.
Well, that's crazy. No one would ever. Yeah, but they do. They
Yeah.
do. Falling costs expands the market in ways that are often hard to predict. How will Robotaxi do? As soon as they have the ability to reduce the number of remote supervisors to a reasonable level, they can just conquer. They can absolutely conquer. They can I believe they can manufacture faster than they can expand. And
For
if
sure.
they couldn't, there's always the rest of us with our vehicles.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so we've seen some vehicles in Austin 20 miles from the current in all directions from the current geofenced area. It appears that maybe we're getting ready for a major expansion. I suggested on my show this morning that it might eventually become a question of the chicken or the egg. Are we putting out more cars when there's no passengers? Are we putting out fewer cars and we have too many passengers? In other words, there now may be a little bit of a logistics game that gets played as they increase the area.
So I'm going to disagree because Tesla owns the vehicles. If it was my vehicle, I want that thing in motion all the time. Get me my customers, but it's Tesla's vehicles. They can just pull over and wait and let the demand catch up. There are a lot of, I'd say most rides today are not actual rides. They're rides with people who are doing it for the sake of doing it. They're amusement park rides. That will change very, very quickly. And they don't have to be much cheaper than the competition. They don't even necessarily have to be cheaper than the competition. The only legitimate thing I saw in the Business Insider article was one time we had to wait 20 or 30 minutes to get one. Right. But that's just an issue of scale. That will be resolved almost immediately. And if not, it'll be resolved the following day. So they can produce that car right now. Like I can just make a phone call and the car will be manufactured and out here in a few hours.
Even drive itself out there.
Drive itself to the place it needs to be. And we've got one more in the network. As opposed to with Waymo, I saw a Waymo that was set on fire.
Yeah.
That will never go back into service. They are no longer making the Jaguar I-Pace. That is a new permanent network constraint that Tesla will never face.
Right. So the third largest potential product is something nobody ever talks about. That is Dojo. And Dojo, I think it's 3, is coming out shortly. And Brian Wang has suggested that when we get to Dojo 5, we might pass NVIDIA in production and production capacity. And at that point, maybe we're selling them, leasing them, setting up data centers so that other people can plug in and use it. I'm not exactly sure. Have you thought anything about this at all in terms of the future of Dojo outside of in-house use?
Well, Dojo only has to outperform NVIDIA chips on a power basis. If it can do the same job as quick or quicker, but with less power, it wins. It's done. And then what do you do with the billions of dollars of chips you already have? You sell them. And you're not going to get 100% of your money back, but you might. You actually might because they probably didn't pay full price for them when you buy in that kind of quantity. They're going to they could get billions back from the sale of existing chips before you even talk about. It would be unlikely for them to be running them for others out of the gate because you need to write the software for the architecture. That's one of the big hangups. When I was interviewing a gentleman, a senior chip designer from IBM, I said, "Why is Dojo taking so long?" It's about 2 years ago. And he said, "It's not. This is a normal amount of time for it to take, because once you've got your prototype that runs, great. Now you've got to do a bunch of more things to get it actually into production. And then once it's in production, you have to write the software that runs on it. You have to write the firmware because it's a new architecture. And that can be a real delay. If 3 is just using a slightly modified version of 1 and 2, the software is better in place. They could certainly use it for their in-house production, just their in-house compute, like they have been already with Dojo 1. So um, but getting other companies to a point where they could benefit from it, optimize it, might take a little longer. So could this be a big revenue center? I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, so then the next one, I think it's close, but I'm going to go with energy. Thinks gee whiz, oh, energy. Oh, yeah, that, because it's
Mhm.
boring. But you and I have both done analyses and seen analyses where, Elon wants to get up to a full terawatt. We're talking about 20 factories of the size that we have now in order to get there. Maybe 25 factories that size, each of those factories producing $10 billion a year in product. So there's a real opportunity to be talking about 250 billion or more in volume. And so we've got one factory done, one factory maybe ramping, maybe all the way ramped up in Shanghai, and a third factory being built that we're not hearing much about. What are you hearing?
The one in Texas is moving along quickly. I believe they're already to the point where equipment can be going in.
Wow.
I will be expecting to see early production by the end of this year. That
Wow.
would be comparable to the timeline we saw in Lathrop. Now,
Okay.
of course, it's comparable to the time we saw in Shanghai. That nothing should surprise you when it comes to Shanghai speed, especially when you multiply Shanghai speed times Tesla speed. It's faster. But Lathrop also tooled up very quickly. Lathrop can make 40 gigawatt hours a year of storage. Shanghai probably more like 60. And those are, you should think of them as step siblings. They're barely related, because in China they get the batteries from down the street. They sell them into Asia and Oceania. They don't really make it this far to the West. And in the West, we don't sell anything that goes over to Asia, in part because we could send them to Australia. It's just they're very big, and that's very far away. So what we're going to see is U.S. domestic production. What I don't know is where the Houston location would be getting all of its batteries, because the new LFP factory in Nevada only has a capacity of 10 gigawatt hours. So that's a quarter of the demand for batteries out of Lathrop. They would need to 8x the production out of there. Now, Tesla's very good at getting more production out of the existing footprint, the existing equipment, but no one is of the belief that they can 8x it. That's too much. And the advanced LFPs, the equipment that you use to make advanced LFPs, is now restricted. China will not let it be exported. That's their response to us putting all these ridiculous tariffs on for things like the graphene. We don't we don't really make graphene. 95% of the graphene we use is from China, and now it's got a 90% plus tariff on it. That's going to drive up. So what I'm seeing is the obstacles to stationary storage deployment are more political than technological or practical. I guess politics is practical, but all these tariffs are creating a real source of pain, I'd say. Um, I still believe that stationary storage is going to continue getting bigger and bigger. We saw an announcement just the other day. I think it was another 300 megapacks being sold into Australia.
Yeah.
And more importantly, it may not show up this quarter, but it will show up this year. The revenue is going to start showing up from China. And that's going to be a real saving grace,
I
because the
would
margin on these is substantial, and so is the price tag.
Yeah, I would definitely think that we'll see that in the third quarter. Okay, the next largest group would be the semi-truck, although again, I'm quoting Brian Wong a lot, but Brian Wong thinks that semi-trucks will eventually be as big as energy, maybe even bigger, but the semi-trucks are apparently getting really close to the start
Very
of
close.
production. I did a large video last night. If you want to check it out, I'll put a card up here later on the semi-trucks and all of the news over the weekend. But what do you have I know you pay a lot of attention to that Reno facility. What are you thinking in terms of the start date or?
I'm still thinking right around the end of the year. The stamping equipment is going in now. We've seen a lot of equipment, not so much equipment, but all the wiring has shown up, and the spools sometimes get a little smaller, telling you that they are doing all the outfitting on the interior. They've moved in, yeah, they've been moving in some heavy equipment. So the timeline looks about right. The real question is, again, batteries, man. It takes like 10 cars worth of batteries to make one semi, and Giga Nevada is next door, but not all batteries are created equal. My hope is that 4680 ramp continues to go well so that Texas can switch back to making Model Ys with 4680, freeing up those 2170s that would have otherwise been used in Texas for use in the semi. That's what the semi's been using so far, is 2170s. There is no plan that we're aware of to use the LFP cells made in Nevada to make a 300-mile range truck. The whole plan is that these are stationary storage batteries. They're built to different specifications. Stationary doesn't need to endure 1,000,000 miles of vibration and road conditions. So it's a different application. So yeah, I would say semi, I'm still very hopeful for, but the entire US market is only 250,000 semis. Add a bit more on for Canada. And then hopefully we can export some as well, but it remains to be seen. Semi exciting, a distant ways behind the other things we're discussing.
Yeah, but still if we get to the 50,000 run rate, and the suggestion is now that the news I saw yesterday is that the 500-mile is at 250,000. So even if we
Did you?
yeah, that's not 100% confirmed. It was mentioned by one of the customers that they were sad that the price was 250,000, but they were still going to buy it. And so
wasn't it originally 180? 180 to 250 is not a big jump.
As far as I know, there's never been an official statement of the price.
I thought at the unveiling it was announced to be, I thought, like 180 with a cheaper version at 150, but whatever it is, that's one thing people have been asking me is, when will these become unstoppable? And the answer is, it just comes down to dollars and cents.
Yeah.
The bean counters in the back office know what there is a price at which you can consider it, and then an even lower price at which you can't consider anything else.
Yeah, okay.
And we don't know, that number is different for every customer, and we don't know what the dollar figures are just yet. And part of the equation is, how much are you paying for juice back wherever it is you're charging it? I have seen some people say, well, until they carpet the world with mega chargers, they can't sell the first one. That's ridiculous. People bought gasoline carts when they had to go to the drugstore and buy it by the liter. So come on.
Well, PepsiCo has already bought 18 chargers just for one location and multiple other chargers for other locations. And they've already got, I think, 82 trucks on the road. They'll be buying, I'm sure, thousands before they're done.
Pepsi is a very good application because if you've got any hills at all, the regen is massive. Liquid is heavy. Those are heavy trucks. And the regen you will get coming down fully loaded is consequential. Where the alternative is, what are we doing? Jake braking? Are we burning up physical brakes? Are we converting all that kinetic energy into heat? That's ridiculous. So no, this is great. Even on my road trip, just going through some very mild mountain passes, there are, you for those who don't know, there's a little green graph icon you can click on that will show you your energy consumption based on this trip and what to expect. And there are times when it says your power goes down, 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 your power goes back up.
Yeah.
And that's when you're going downhill. You can look at the graph and predict when hills are coming. It's a lot of fun. It gamifies your efficiency and it makes, I know some drivers drive more efficiently.
So that brings us down to, among the major product categories, that brings us down to the least likely future hundreds of billions of dollars, which is sitting at 90 billion now. It's the number one thing that we do.
Mm.
But I suspect that the sale to retail customers of automobiles is going to be kind of a non-thing sometime in the future. Maybe it's 3 years, according to my estimation. Maybe it's 5 years, according to Larry's estimations. Other people think it might be 10 years, that there'll still be some cars being sold to rich people. But
I
just
disagree. I'm happy to be on the 20-year end of that because I believe it'll take a generational shift for people to stop buying and driving cars. My brother and his wife both got to drive my car a few months back, made a video about it where the first half was him just driving it as a car. The second half was her not driving it, just supervising. And this weekend we had our family reunion and we got to talk about it again. We got to go over their thoughts. She is now obsessed with the car. She wants one real bad because driving's for the birds. But my brother's philosophy is, why would you own a car if you're not going to drive it? Isn't the driving the whole point of it? And I go, really? Like even on the highway for 3 hours, 4 hours at a stretch? Yeah, even then. Really? Okay. Hey, man, these people exist and they will continue to exist. The Model Y large, I think, is going to sell. I think they positioned it just like they did the Model Y the first time, saying, it's out. It's not a big deal because they know it is a big deal. It's such a big deal that people will go nuts for it because there is a real demand for a bit more space. The Model Y is great for two people and cargo. It is good for four people and some cargo. Anytime you go over four, you wish you had a few more inches of cubic space. And the third row that I have, the 2023, very tight in the back, comically tight in the back. This, we still haven't seen good enough shots to understand the true scale of this, but I believe it's going to be sold in every market, and I believe it's going to become the best-selling variant of the Model Y
wow.
because it is bigger, and in markets like the US, one of Tesla's biggest markets, uh, despite what you've been told your whole life, Randy, size matters.
Yeah, yes, yes. I'm trying to come up with a great comeback to that. And it's just I'm working. My brain is like, you probably see the smoke coming out of my ears. Okay, so my theory, though, on the cars not being sold has less to do with whether people want to drive, meaning own and drive a vehicle, and more to do with whether people will want to own at all.
Mhm.
Because if they can get a ride,
Right.
if they can get a cab for 40 cents a mile and a car is going to cost them 75 cents a mile to own, and they can turn the garage into a man cave, I think there's a lot of folks that are going to say, "Hey, I don't need to own that vehicle, wash it, take care of it, worry
Insure
about
it.
getting it smogged and insured, and when will it need a new engine or a new tranny or whatever." I think people are going to say, "Never mind," especially the young people as they're coming up are definitely already saying this.
I would agree with you on the younger generation. My kids have very limited interest in driving. It's not even fun for them. But I would say that it would be a generational shift. And while you may be a hunter, the gatherers out there will still want their own thing. And for a lot of people, it it wouldn't work to just take taxis everywhere. If you got um, any substantial number of items for work that requires more than two hands to move, you don't want to be packing that in and out of vehicles all day. It doesn't make sense. If you've got more than one car seat, even really one car seat, it becomes a whole thing. I think vehicle ownership will remain strong for another at least 10, but realistically 20 years.
So then the last thought on that is that even if vehicle ownership remains strong, it may not be Tesla vehicle ownership, in that the Teslas will be probably designed specifically as robotic cars.
I
They
disagree with that too. If we're still making Model 3s, S's and X's today, we could just stop doing major updates to the 3 and Y and just continue selling them as long as people want them.
unless there's a volume thing. I mean, in other words, it may just turn out to be why bother?
Well, they would convert Texas to making just driverless vehicles and let Fremont keep making the legacy 3 and Y. I can see it. It's free money. It's free money.
Yeah, yeah, okay. I'm looking at it from a margin standpoint. Elon has said that once
But
we,
they would have enough bandwidth to do both.
no, I'm saying from a margin standpoint. In other words, that if Elon says that once they become unsupervised vehicles, that now they're worth $90,000 and people will take them off the market. We will get people picking up the phone and calling us if we're not using it as a robotaxi in order to buy it from
Right.
it, to put it into service.
I understand that argument. Herbert is a big proponent of that school of thought, but I believe that they will be able to manufacture as many robotaxis as there's demand for while still having bandwidth to make cars that they sell. If you can make a few $1 billion over here, I think shareholders would prefer them to continue doing that, even if those vehicles don't see the same pace of updates as others. If people are still buying them, there was a product we sold at the place where I sold broadcast electronics, an old Sharp brand VCR that did, I don't know, it had some weird feature about it. And they made it and it sold pretty well. And then the next year, the sales started falling off. And they said, well, when it gets to a certain point, we'll discontinue it, but we're not going to update it. And it had been, I think, 15 years, they were still selling the same VCR because even though it wasn't anything particularly, it had one weird feature, something about it. And so you'd get 2, 3, 4 orders a quarter times every distributor.
Right.
It was enough to keep it going. And then one day it disappeared from the catalog. And it might have been Sharp, it might have been Panasonic, but we asked the rep why. I said, we joked, would you break the mold? And he goes, yeah,
I get it.
the mold broke. Literally, the mold broke.
Yeah,
And it doesn't make sense to make the mold again. It's discontinued now. So some things you can just kind of ride out and let them die a natural death as long as it's still profitable.
100%. So now listen, if you don't have if something to do for the next 15 or 20 minutes, last night's show with Brian, I'm going to put a card right up here because of course it was phenomenal. And if you missed it, you should go back and check it out. We talked all about the diner and all the possibilities for the diner, and I thought we had a good time.
It was a good chat.
And so I'm going to suggest that, put the card up. And other than that, Brian,
I do want to say, for those who think I give Randy too hard of a time, it's only because he can handle it and he gets me.
get you. Brian, you've got something coming up this weekend, real quick.
Yeah, X Takeover in San Mateo. It's huge. Lars Moravy is going to be one of the keynote speakers, Steve Jurvetson, but all your favorites are going to be there. Sandy Monroe, myself, Hans C. Nelson, Farzad Mesbahi, Omar from Holmar's catalog, too many more to name. Dr. Know-It-All, Bearded Tesla Guy, Tesla Tino, his lovely wife Nancy, Tesla Tina. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. And vendor booths, all kinds of great stuff. And Simon's bringing out the huge light show. And it's not just a light show this year, it's a light show plus 800 drones doing their light show above it in sync. It's amazing. Northern Lights drone shows, they do fantastic work out of Wisconsin. They're coming all the way out for it. Join us, won't you?
Sounds like
xtakeovers.com. Take over.
It sounds like a ton of fun. Everybody should go. All right, Brian, thanks as always. And to all of you out there, it's been great talking to you.